Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the March meeting of your Louisville Town Council. So glad to see those of you in the audience that are joining us tonight. It's been a long time since we've seen faces and real bodies, so we're glad to see you here. Always appreciate the fact that you've taken time out of your day to be with us at our council chambers. Those of you watching at home tonight on TV6, welcome. We hope to provide you with an entertaining meeting. Certainly all the things we do are important to the town of Louisville, so we hope you will, and we appreciate the fact that you're tuning in to take interest in your town government. With that, we'll go back to our traditional roll call, starting with Ms. Welch.
Good evening, Reza.
Oh, hey, good evening, I'm David.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jean Marie.
Mike Horn.
Hi, Ken Sadler.
Happy Thursday, Melissa Hunt.
And I'm Fred Franklin.
You can tell we're out of practice in doing that, so we'll have it down for the next meeting. Folks, if you will join us now for our invocation, Bo, if you'll lead us through that, and then please stay standing if you're able for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's pray. God our Father, we give you thanks this evening for this evening and for your many blessings of life. As we are thankful for our many blessings, we take a moment to keep in mind those who are not as blessed as we are, and especially we give our thoughts, our prayers, our concerns to those who are involved in the fighting in Ukraine, and the people there, the people in Russia, the people in Poland, the people in Romania, all those others. We ask that you keep your comforting and guiding hand over each of them during this difficult time in their lives and in the life of this world. Coming back to Louisville, we give you thanks for this town. We give you thanks for the volunteers who give of their time willingly, for the staff who work so hard, and for our elected body. We ask you to give them wisdom, give them courage, give them kindness and consideration this night as we go through this meeting. We ask all these things in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
Under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Folks, if I seem a bit hoarse or coarse tonight, it's because I'm tackling the spring allergies. I know many of you are suffering through this with us, so if I pause to cough, it's not anything to be alarmed about. It's allergies and allergens, so hopefully it won't be too distracting. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like just to take a moment, and Bo, thank you for remembering the folks in Ukraine and the folks in our NATO ally states, countries. I'd like to share something that I read day before yesterday in the Financial Times of London. And it was a lengthy article, but I wanted to pull a couple of excerpts out from it. This is by Chrystia Freeland, and she's Canada's Deputy Prime Minister. And she wrote, "Indeed, with their remarkable resistance, the people of Ukraine have shaken the world's older democracies out of malaise. In dying for freedom and democracy, Ukrainians have shown us that these values can come at a high price, that it is worth paying. And Ukraine's courage has renewed our confidence that democracies can actually win. The people of Ukraine are today showing the incredible strength of a free people fighting for their democracy. That is why the world's democracies are equally resolute in our support for the people of Ukraine. This is one of those times and one of those places where freedom confronts tyranny. And we are determined that freedom will triumph." Thank you for indulging me. Council members, we have our agenda. We've had a couple of things change since it went out. We have postponed our comprehensive plan presentation. I believe we had a schedule conflict and they couldn't be here this evening. We have an addition under new business. Brian and Pam are going to give us a little update on paving and a budget resolution that we'll have to take a look at, and that'll be new business A. And then we have an addition under old business or unfinished business with our boards and committees update that Ms. Foster will present. Dora, are there any other changes? Any other revisions? Council members, anything you wish to add? If not, we'll entertain a motion to approve.
Motion.
Second.
Ms. Hunt makes the motion. Mr. Smitherman, I'm so used to looking at these guys when we do this. Mr. Smitherman makes the second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, that is unanimous. Hank, if you'll run through our consent agenda with us, please.
This evening's consent agenda consists of 4 items. Resolution 2022-014, acceptance and approval of monthly financials for 7 months ended January 31st, 2022. Approval of council briefing meeting minutes, February 3rd, 2022. Approval of council retreat minutes from February 4th and 5th of 2022. And lastly, approval of regular meeting minutes from February 10th, 2022.
Ladies and gentlemen, the consent agenda are items that regularly come before the council. We take them as a group for expediency. However, any council member, should they wish, could ask for a item to be pulled off and discussed individually. Council, what's your pleasure?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Franklin makes the motion. Ms. Foster makes the second. Ms. Welch makes the second. I'm going to have to retrain my ears. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. That is unanimous. PJ, welcome.
Good evening.
Evening.
Happy to see everybody this evening. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
So not a lot to report for the month of February, but as you can see, 532 calls for service, 253 security checks, 17 traffic violations. Our numbers are running pretty consistent. We were at like 516 this time last year and 266. Traffic citations had dropped down a little bit, so nothing really significant to stand out to report during the month of February, so that's always a plus. No major events. I did want to mention briefly, if nobody has any questions, I wanted to talk to you just a minute about severe weather, since we are in severe weather awareness week. So I don't think the statewide tornado drill went off Wednesday, but that was scheduled. So as we're entering into the summertime, we have a lot of roads that become flooded or trees down. So the town's very good, DOT's very good about trying to get barricades out there. If you see deputies trying to get those barricades set up or cones, just a reminder to never drive around a barricade, especially at night. Never drive through these flooded roads. If a tree's down, don't try to go around it, folks, because these power lines become entangled in it and it can be very deadly to you. So most of the time, if you see caution tape around a vehicle or around those lines or trees, somebody's already been made aware of it, and we're just waiting on the proper people to actually get those cut out and get removed. So if nobody has any questions, I'm going to let you get back to your meeting, and thank you again for having me. So.
Any questions for PJ? PJ, we have a new deputy, Mr. Lang Lamb.
We do. We actually have 2 deputies.
Okay.
And so the plan is for next month, since we're back in person, so I'm going to get those guys up here so we can do a formal introduction. Very pleased to have them. I think they'll be very suited for the town of Louisville. So they're excited to be here, but we couldn't make it work out this month, so we'll start fresh next month. So.
Well, we didn't get an opportunity to say a proper goodbye to Travis, but please extend our true appreciation and gratitude for him. He became a real fixture in Louisville.
He's already missing it. Have a good night.
Thanks, PJ.
Thank you, PJ.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the first of 2 opportunities tonight to address the council during our public forum. If anybody's in the audience that wishes to address the council on any subject, please come forward, state your name and your address, and we're all ears. Anybody wish to speak? All righty. We will have another opportunity at the end of the meeting for you all to speak, and that'll be here in just a little bit. You also may send your comments to townclerk@louisvillenc.net. That's townclerk@louisvillenc.net, and we'll be glad to make those part of the record this evening. Council members, we have a little bit of an adjustment in the schedule, and I'm going to apologize to our audience tonight. We have a scheduled closed session. Generally, we have these at the end of our meetings, but unfortunately, the resources that need to be with us and provide us counsel this evening are not available after 8 o'clock. So we want to try to go ahead and get them involved right now, and we're going to temporarily adjourn our meeting into the side conference room. It may be a while. I don't want to discourage folks from staying. We will have a number of actions that we'll take when we come back out of closed session, but just the timing, unfortunately, of being able to get all of the heads together across the state that need to be part of this conversation could only happen at this particular time. So please be with us. I don't know if we have popcorn, if we have drinks or anything that we can serve, but it probably will be a little while on this. Council members, Bo, will you please instruct us for the closed session?
Be happy to. This will be a closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statutes 143-318-11A3 to consult with an attorney employed or retained by the public body in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the public body, which privilege is hereby acknowledged.
Very good. Council members, may I have a motion to go into closed session?
I'll motion.
Second.
Ms. Hunt makes the motion. Mr. Smitherman makes the second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, folks. We're going to step into closed session, and we certainly appreciate your patience.
In front of the council, you were emailed some applications for the board applicants. At your seat are voting ballots. They are color-coded. There's one for the planning board. There is one for the Willow Run at-large, the Willow Run Municipal Service District, Area 3. We're asking for you to select who you would like to appoint for that. Just for those three at this time, please hold off on the Zoning Board of Adjustments at this time. And then once you're completed that, I'll be glad to gather your ballots and we'll calculate them. You're voting for 3 for planning and 1 each for the different Willow Runs.
Considered for that. Very good. While our folks are tallying those up, let us move on to, well, let's see. Let's jump down to boards and committee update, Ms. Foster, because our town clerk is tied up doing what she's doing, and she had the next item on the agenda, so.
Excellent. So, council members, at the last, at briefing, you'll recall that I requested to just give you a quick update in follow-up to the retreat presentation and discussion and input from you folks. I wanted to pull that together along with the work group. The work group was able to meet and have some follow-up discussion based upon what we heard from you folks. So what we wanted to provide tonight was the, what we're calling the comprehensive board and committee calendar. It's color-coded for the public here. It'll be part of the record, so I'm sure that will be accessible to the public. It was also in the retreat minutes. For your review, much has stayed the same, but we have added some more detail. What you may recall was requested at the retreat was some support by the council. So that support would mean time, your own possible energy and input and interest, and to make sure that we're all on the same page with what we've been trying to accomplish. So this, for the public watching, as a reminder, we've given many updates over the past several months, but this was about a request prior to COVID, frankly, to take a look at how we're doing with our boards and committees, how we as a town, how the staff, how the council, how are we supporting our board and committee members. We heard back from them. Bottom line is they had wants around more communication with council, more clarity around scope, more collaboration with one another, just better understanding of charter, orientation, onboarding, policy and procedure manuals. So we've been looking at all of these things, providing best practices, and so where we're landing now is here's what we know. Here are the things that we think make sense for the year in operating and governing board and committee processes. Everything from budget and how that's integrated into our budget process, their appointment process and election of officers, their request for enhanced communication, orientation, training, and appreciation. So that's for the public. Council members, thanks for indulging, you know that. So I wanted to make sure that everyone is consistently shaking their head and saying, yep, this is where we are, this works, and to forecast and make some requests of you folks individually. The pressing items are the board and committee appreciation social. We talked about offering in May a social. The boards and committee members I talked to briefly, I just did a quick focus group call for a couple of vice chairs and chairs, and they felt that May would work, in essence, as opposed to the fall. I think we were all looking at, maybe that's too soon, but they said, we think that works. Councilwoman, go for it, Melissa. Councilwoman Hunt and Councilwoman Welch had expressed some real interest, again, 2 years ago in being involved in this and sort of spearheading that. So what we'd like to do is make it explicit that Councilwoman Hunt and Councilwoman Welch will join the work group as ad hoc additions for the purpose of that discussion. Does that fit for you guys?
Sounds great.
Great. So we've already queued things up, but we would want to pull you in and then have you tell us what to do from there, or you run with certain things as you see fit.
Do you have the dates on when we would all meet?
We'll get back to you on that. It's going to depend on your schedules. I wanted to make sure you guys were okay and on board with that. But hopefully what we'd like to do is do it next week. Okay? So we can do that offline. So if you look down, for example, under board and committee orientation, one of the other issues that's come up is the social media policy review and determination. We need some input on that. And we have a draft. The work group wanted to dig in, and we've dug in. But we've assumed that there are a couple of folks who might be interested, I think. Well, I'll let you all speak. I know Ms. Hunt, you had expressed an interest. And anyone else? All right, I'll leave that to the interest inventory that we'll get to next.
I'll be glad to be what's the word? Ex
Ex
officio.
officio, excellent. Well, so jumping to the other component, because I don't want to take too much time. I also prepared, and I want to thank Dora for pulling all this together on our behalf as a work group. This is the council interest assessment form that I mentioned again at the retreat. First of all, I want to apologize. Mr. Smitherman was missed, so I apologize.
He's not needed.
He is needed. Bo, we might bump you from this so that, well, we'll put you under notes. How about that? So let's make sure we add Smitherman, but since this is an individual exercise, what you'll see on the left are all these tasks, folks, that we want to get accomplished. And the work group has worked on this. We've gotten feedback from focus groups and board and committee members. It's now time to plug council members in, individually and collectively. So that said, we've listed multiple tasks that we need some help with. And you may be involved as either leading it, providing input, just reviewing, and ultimately the council as a whole would be involved in the approval. Is that fair statement, Hank?
Yes, ma'am.
So if you could go through line by line and provide some feedback on where your interests lie, what you'd like to be involved with, and if that includes anything from just review, or if you want to be more involved, then,
Yeah, Ms. Foster, you're not expecting that this evening?
no, sir.
Okay, good, good,
The
good. We're
plan,
just now seeing this, yeah.
thank you. Now, the plan was for you all to get this electronically, but in talking with my colleague, Ms. Welch, since we were meeting in person, we just thought having something in hand so that you can sort of see and we could talk through. I'm happy to provide this electronically. If you all want to get it back to me in hard copy, that's fine, but electronic certainly works for us. So that's what this is about. Your interests, your skills. When we're doing orientation programs, for example, we have a whole host of expertise sitting here at this table that has incredible institutional knowledge. Fred can tell stories about Louisville that none of us even knew about. So we may want to plug that into helping folks know a little bit about the town. So don't be shy. Tell us where your energy lies, what you'd like to contribute, who you are, what you want to do, and we'll put that together and get back to you next week and tell you when we want to plug that in. Work group members, any comments?
I have a question, please.
Yes.
On the state of the town address, would you explain that a little bit with that involved?
Yes, ma'am. So this, again, I mentioned at the retreat, the concept is we have here what we're calling the State of the Town Address in July. The fiscal year for the town starts in July. So what we're imagining is all the boards and committees develop their plans of work. We create our budget as Pam will lead us through that process. And at that time, the mayor, manager, and however they want to tap council members would then have a State of the Union, if you will, of the town. And mayor, I was imagining, would lead in some overview, setting the course for the next year, based upon what the plan of works coming from the boards and committees are, and our own discussions through the budget process. That's what we had in mind. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
I appreciate the opportunity, but we generally have always engaged all the council members in any kind of forecasting or any kind of talking about where the town was going to go, what our accomplishments might be. I think I would say that probably is not just the mayor. I think that council members play an equal role in how we determine the direction of the town and our priorities and our goals. And
Sure.
so I would, while I appreciate the spotlight, I suggest we share it with council members.
So thank you. I want to make sure that's clear then. So as we've written here, mayor and manager, and I put council in parentheses to make room for just that. You know, certainly the expectation is, of course, council members are involved in that process. It's just a matter of how the group prefers to go forward with that. So thank you, Mayor.
We're not approving this
You're
evening.
not approving
Okay.
that this evening, but we're bringing it forward just so you can see it. You'll get this electronically. We wanted to just give you a handout to say, are we on a similar page here where we start the process of pinning all these things down, getting you plugged in, we approve it, and then every year we have a living process by which the boards and committees are being governed and involved with management and staff.
Very good. I would think that we all would like a little time to kind of glance through this.
Of course.
And maybe, I know I'm looking just at a couple of things that I've got questions about what that would entail and what the scope of participation and involvement would be. I suspect once everybody gets into it, there's going to be some more questions.
I hope.
You got us on a pretty tight time frame here, and I'm not discouraging your haste. However, I want to be sure that council members have time to digest this and ample time to ask questions, to choose the area that they want to be involved in. So when are you thinking that you would want to have the council members' responses back?
We would greatly appreciate if you all could provide these responses back by Tuesday evening of next week. Is that reasonable? I think I saw an eyebrow go up to my left. So I'm reading my constituents here.
Council members, your thoughts?
I can do it.
The inventory is truly just about saying, here are my interests and where they lie. The work group would then meet because we've done that with ourselves and other individuals, and would say, okay, here's what we would do, and then loop back to each of you all and say, Mayor, we see you'd like to do this and this. We really would hope that we could get you plugged in. What's your calendar like? And provide you whatever information so you could start running with it.
Very good. So the request is to have your interest indicated back to Ms. Foster by Tuesday.
Evening.
I have a comment or a question, comment. Would it be, because this is fantastic, but it's also a little overwhelming for me right this moment. So is this something that we all need to kind of be in consensus about on how this is going to play out or be actually implemented? Is that something that we can give you our interest by Tuesday, but maybe revisit this during briefing session in April?
Yeah,
Or-
and again, remember, this was provided to you at the retreat. This is the same
Okay.
document we provided
It just
at
is on a
retreat.
bigger piece of
It's on
paper.
a
Okay.
bigger piece of paper.
Okay.
It's
Then
a
I'm-
handout. We've added what you all provided
Okay.
in terms of feedback at the retreat. So you've seen this, reviewed it, and at the retreat, you were saying, yeah, go, keep, this looks good. So what we'll do is, based on what you're, again, this is not, hey, this is it, are you approving, goodbye. No. This is just to give you a handout to
Okay.
say, this is the tie back to the retreat.
Okay. So
So
all you need is this.
all we need is the work
Okay.
group, is this, so we know then how to match that with this, so that you all can then decide, that looks good.
Okay.
That looks good. We can meet that deadline. No, let's add a resource here. Forget that. We're not in agreement with that. So that's how that's going to come together.
Great. Thank you.
Yes, and we'll send this both electronically. Again, this is actually, I think the old one from the retreat is actually embedded in the minutes that you just approved for the retreat during the consent agenda. Okay? So you've seen that.
Yep. Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. And call me with any questions, but the work group will be meeting on Wednesday.
Okay.
That's it. Just a quick update. Nothing more than that. Thank you.
Very good. Dory, do you have some tabulations for us?
Yes, sir. So for the planning board, the top three were Philip May, Michael Mulligan, and Kate Norton. For Willow Run MSD, Area 3, Chad Conger.
Chad, it was awfully close on that one.
Run MSD at large, Jeffrey Rawls. So with Philip May being appointed to the planning board, that will leave an opening on the zoning board, so I'm not exactly sure how you want to move forward with that. And the other candidate that had applied for the zoning board was also appointed to the planning board,
The,
Norton.
Oh, really? Okay.
Aaron, I believe, had expressed an interest in public safety too.
Yes, sir. That will be under your committee appointments.
Straight committee appointments, okay. So let me just be sure I'm recapping here. We have 2 openings on the zoning board of adjustment, and
Oh, you have one, it looks like.
we have one because Ms. Norton was appointed to the planning board. So we have 1 opening and 1 person?
You had one opening and one person, but if Philip
Two.
May,
That's right. You do have
Philip
two.
May being appointed to the planning board makes a second opening on the zoning board of adjustments. Ms. Norton also applied for the zoning board of adjustments, but she was just appointed to the planning board.
Did any of other our candidates express an interest in the zoning board of adjustments?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
No.
Mayor, we also had people who had not applied for the Parks and Rec and Cultural Development Board,
Nobody did.
right?
Right, we received no applications for Parks and Rec.
So I'm just wondering, since there is so much involved with Parks and Rec that have to do with planning and implementation, if there might be an interest in one of the candidates who was not placed. I don't know if that's,
We certainly can reach out to.
We can check in with them.
yes,
You still gotta figure out that second slot, though.
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
So I'm
But
not sure
it-
how
but
we need to
effectively,
proceed
with
for the
Mr.
zoning
May's
board.
appointment to the planning board, we do have 2 spots now, or vacancies on the zoning board, and one
One applicant.
applicant. So we'll need to figure out how to plug that hole at some point.
Okay. Trying to think through, can we, of the folks that expressed interest in serving on the planning board, whether can we make an appointment? Well, I guess we just have to step back and take a look at.
I think that would have, and correct me if I'm wrong, would that not have to be a discussion you would need to have with those applicants to see if they're even interested
so.
in the zoning board?
I would recommend that let us investigate their interest in the zoning board of adjustment, as well as the Parks and Recreation for the ones that weren't appointed.
Come back to
I
council
wouldn't want to
next
place somebody on the board where they have no interest in it.
Right.
month. Right.
Exactly. Especially something like the zoning board where there's such a high technical
Right.
expectation and component.
But do you, and you do have the one opening?
You're still gonna have to do the one opening on zoning board of adjustments.
Right, so what is the holdup for us completing the zoning board of adjustment? I'm not
You can go
following.
ahead
Don't
and
have
act
enough
on the one.
candidates.
Go ahead and do
Act
it
on one.
now.
You have two
Right.
openings now, but
Right.
one available, and you could act on that one.
Right, that's what I'm
Just your
asking.
current chair.
Yep,
Yeah.
So we will.
Well, that will provide a quorum for them too, even if we have one vacancy. Is that correct?
Some alternates too, don't you?
Yeah, I think Mr. May have been an alternate, I can't recall that, but we do have two alternates.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I forgot about
We
the
have
alter, yeah.
alternates seated, but if you want I'm not suggesting how you ought to vote, but if you want continuity, Mr. Warnick is an incumbent on the board and sits as chair presently.
Very good. So we will have hopefully some nominees in April for the remaining slot.
Yes, sir. We'll try to get you some more information for April. We'll reach out to these other applicants and see if they have an interest in either the zoning board of adjustments or Parks and Rec.
Chair is, for the Parks and Rec is here this evening. I know there's been a lot of reach out, and I appreciate that. The Parks and Rec has got big business to do with the land use and planning, and working in conjunction with planning board. So for the record, since this is being broadcast, I just want to put a plug.
And Dora, we have reached out to former people who've indicated that they wish to be on the Parks and Rec.
Yes, sir. I emailed 4 former applicants. I looked back at the last 4 cycles, and there were 4 individuals that had applied for Parks and Recreation but were not appointed. So I have reached out to those 4, but only heard back from 2, and the 2 I heard from said that due to their current schedules and obligations, they could not serve at this time.
And it's typical for the, Mr. Manager, for the chairs, or at least the vice chair, to possibly interview. And so I'm sure, not speaking for the chair who's sitting in the room, I'm sure she'd be willing to be available if anyone
Yes, ma'am,
had an interest.
that's
in
correct.
discussing.
Once, for any board, if we like to involve the chair, or if not, the vice chair for the boards for it. We didn't have anybody to interview this time, so there wasn't that
Sure.
opportunity.
Okay, thanks.
I have a process question. All of these, the votes on, that have already been taken will be published, is that correct?
Yes, sir, they'll be included in your minutes.
All right, and did anyone receive votes outside of the ones that were announced for planning board?
Are you asking if a write-in was put in?
No, I'm asking if any of the candidates who are on the list received any votes other than the 3 who were selected?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
This isn't an official record, but I think, Aaron, you had indicated an interest in public safety.
Yes, I did, sir.
And
he's on the appointment order that you're
We'll
going
get
to
down
address
committees. Okay, very
under
good, very good.
committees. Yes,
Very
sir.
good. Wanted to make sure we were still in line there. Great, excellent. Okay, so
So we need at least for you to vote for zoning board for the one position that Mr. Warnick
That's correct.
is up for.
Reappointment.
great. Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to volunteer for a board or committee?
And
Very good, so you've applied. Are you,
Nice to meet you.
Daniel, yes, you're on there already. Good. We're coming up to you in a second.
Was either interested in zoning board, was that adjustment? Because you had no other applicants otherwise. We need to research that out a little bit.
And Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
Just for the record too, we do not have, that I remember from the charter or town code, any limitations that a person is wanting to be on one committee, they can serve on a second committee as well. Is that correct?
We only have one instance where the two are not compatible, and that's planning board and ZBOA.
Right. Again, I was thinking about committees, but okay. Thank
Right,
you.
you're correct.
Thank you.
Although we do like to share the wealth.
I guess it's-
Yes, sir. Aaron,
I'm
we're
sorry.
relatively informal.
I'm also interested in the parks and recreation.
Very good.
tell-
You can tell we're
Susan
somewhat
is
loose in our appointments here, so
recruiting
that works
hard.
out okay.
A little hesitant.
So take us through, if you would, Dora. I'm assuming Mr. Warnick was reappointed, since he was the only candidate? And we're frozen in time. It's not your TV set, folks.
Somebody said something to stump them.
Uh-oh.
Sure. It doesn't influence the vote, does it?
No, and I just want to verify that one that the mark's on is who you're voting for.
No. The only one that we could possibly vote for in that position. Thank you.
So yes, sir, he, Mr. Warnick did get the most
Very good.
votes.
Would you, let's go ahead and knock off our committees. Well, not knock them off. Let's go ahead and make our appointments on our committees if we could before we go into closed session again.
So in your agenda packet were appointment orders for the Louisville Beautification Committee, your Environmental Conservation Sustainability Committee, as well as the Public Safety Advisory Committee. Louisville Beautification Committee had one lady in addition to their current members added. That was Miss Bernice Purcell. On environmental, they had 3 added: Chelsea Blount, Jonathan Link, and Emily Price. And public safety had 2 added: Aaron Hutmacher and Scott Sewell.
Very good. Okay. And Aaron, you can contemplate whether you want to jump on Parks and Recreation, and you can certainly get back with us at any time and join that group should you wish. We can pick up that appointment in April.
Yeah. Guys, what we can do is we'll just take your applications and white out and write in Parks and Recreation Board, and then we'll go through and set something up with the committee chair as soon as we can, or the board chair.
Sounds
All right.
fantastic.
Thank you.
Terrific.
Do we need to
Excellent.
take any action to affirm what you just read there?
Yeah, I'm getting ready to
Okay,
kind of,
I'm
to go ahead
sorry.
and approve that. So council members, if there are no additions or any additional comments, we'll do these individually. May I have a motion, please, to appoint those named to the Louisville Beautification Committee?
So move.
Second.
Ms. Welch makes the motion, Mr. Smitherman makes the second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Very good. May we have a motion for the appointments to the Environmental Conservation and Sustainability Committee, please?
Motion.
Ms. Foster makes the motion, Mr. Franklin makes the second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Very good. And may we have a motion to appoint the individuals to Public Safety?
Motion.
Ms. Hunt makes the motion, Dr. Sadler makes the second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That is unanimous. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Those of you at home, those of you who are here, it is a lot of responsibility that we entrust with our boards and committees. And your giving up of your time graciously, your expertise, your interest and willingness to serve is very much appreciated. So congratulations to those of you here in the audience. And for those of you at home, the appointments that we made, we look forward to having a very, very successful year. Okay, let's go ahead and do item C, Dora, because these are the these are the members not seeking reappointment.
Yes, sir.
And we don't have to take action on those, it's pretty much just a,
This is a matter of information to let you know that the following individuals did not seek reappointment at the end of their term for Parks and Recreation: Shada Horner and Daniel Lowe, I believe. If I mispronounce names, I apologize. For the Planning Board, Joseph Sloop and Mike Sullivan. And for Willow Run District Area 3, David Mazza.
very good. All righty, we will be getting letters out to those individuals expressing our appreciation for their service, and let me just say again, you're an integral part of the town and what we do, so thank you so much for your service over these last few years. I know David's been on the Willow Run Municipal Service District for a number of years, and he's a good friend of the town.
Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
I want to tie it back to this because it's what I do. There is a survey, exit survey, that the work group has recommended. It's on here, and Jeannie's actually developed that several months ago, so just as a reminder.
Okay. Very good. Folks, I think once again, we're going to try to sequester ourselves. Bo, will you repeat your motion, please, or repeat your explanation?
I won't read the verbiage, but the reference is the same one as before, which is North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A3. Would do a motion.
Very good. Let me just glance here real quickly. Ladies and gentlemen, we will have some actionable items when we come out of this closed session. So once again, we may be there for a while, but should you feel free to stay or stay tuned, please do so. With that, we have a motion. May we have a motion, please, to go into closed session?
So moved.
Dr. Sadler makes the motion.
Second.
Ms. Hunt makes the second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. We'll be back, folks. All righty, we're back in session. Thank you, folks, for sticking with us. I doubt we will edit this long pause out of our tape, so those of you who were here, you won't realize that we've been gone for nearly an hour because we will pick right up where we should be. All right.
But you'll never get that hour back.
That's right.
Wow, that's true.
Sunday.
I'll lose another one.
Okay, I think we're on to, we have kind of a change in our paving update that Ryan and Pam will probably walk us through.
Excuse me, Mayor.
Get the one before that.
Yeah,
Did I not have my glasses on at the right
yeah.
time?
Number 12.
Number 12.
12A.
Yes, you're right. We skipped over that one. Chaliford Square Clock Tower. And that is you too, Dorothy. So,
Yes, sir. In the council's agenda packet was a revised inscription policy for Resolution 2022-011. We took into account the recommendations of the council at the agenda briefing, and before you shows those in red line. Do you want me to elaborate on it in any
just
way?
go through it if you would.
So the policy has two sections on it. The first section relates to elected officials and board chairs, that a request can be made to have their name placed on the Chaliford Square Clock Tower. The council member or board chair must have served the town for at least 2 terms, and that could be consecutive or non-consecutive, in any of the following capacities: served as a member of the interim town council, served as an elected official, or served as a chair on a town-appointed board. And that request would come to the town clerk and then to the town council for their consideration. Civic contributors can also be nominated. The individual must meet the following criteria: at least 9 years of impactful service, consecutive or non-consecutive, to the town of Louisville, serving with a locally sponsored scout troop, a civic club, and it includes those who helped with the town's incorporation, or the Louisville or Vienna Fire Department, or served on a town-appointed board or committee. And there would be a nomination for that, which would indicate their capacity in which the individual served, the dates of service, and the synopsis of why the individual should be recognized. And that information would be submitted to the town clerk, who would then submit to the town council for excuse me, be reviewed by a subcommittee of the town council, who would then make a recommendation to the town council.
Mayor, I have a
Yes, ma'am.
question. What was it was 2 terms?
Yes, ma'am,
For
2 terms.
both the A and so for both the boards and committees and for everyone? No,
No, ma'am.
okay,
So it's 2 terms for an elected official or a board chair.
okay,
And then for other individuals, it would be at least 9 years
okay,
of service. So for your current boards, they are 3-year terms. So if they were a board member, that would be basically 2 terms, but your committee members are 2-year terms.
Okay.
So that would be like 3 terms.
and it's non-consecutive or non-consecutive?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And this is on the memorial section of the clock tower, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Clarify just for a second. And Fred, I think you brought this up before. We have individuals in the community who have provided years of community service. That 9 years, does that also apply to them? Or is that just boards and committees?
So the 9 years pertains to individuals who served a locally sponsored scout troop, a civic club, and it includes those who helped with the town of Louisville's incorporation, the Louisville or Vienna Fire Department, or served on a town-appointed board or committee. So it actually classifies where their service had to be.
Any questions?
I've read it over since the last change has been made, and I think it's as good as we can make it right now, in my personal opinion. You're never going to address something in a policy that can
Yep.
address every possible thing that might come up down the road, but as far as having a good general policy, which we've never really had one, I think this is pretty spot on, so I'll make the motion to approve this resolution.
I believe.
I'm sorry.
We're just remarking here, Bo and I were discussing it, where the second whereas on the resolution does indicate a tradition of deceased individuals being placed on the clock tower. The policy before you makes no reference to whether or not someone is deceased.
Well, I did
So-
notice that
So
when I was reading.
I just want to make
but-
sure that was something that everybody didn't take for granted.
Right.
That's why I asked if it was a memorial.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm assuming, that I made that same assumption, but I saw where the word deceased had been lined out, and the way I read it, it would,
Yeah, I just make sure everybody's aware of that before we.
Yeah, council, I
I
think
will
that's a fine point.
Yeah,
that might be, yeah,
I just add that language back in.
yeah, change, yeah. Or maybe even at the title, the Shallowford Square Clock Tower Memorial Inscription Policy, too.
Well, and I think if you say memorial, then by memorial you mean.
Right.
Then you don't have to include.
Or you could
the
add it
city.
back,
You
as
don't
you're
have to
saying.
use the word
Yep.
deceased.
yeah.
Okay.
Very good. So that's the
Okay.
intention. Alrighty.
Does, Councilmember Franklin had a motion on the floor. Does he need to amend that to include that change to the title?
If he makes the motion now, I think you've made that change, so now if he makes his motion over again, because we didn't have a second, I don't think.
Right.
Are we ready? I'd like to make the motion to approve resolution 2022-011,
Adding-
concerning the,
Adding the memorial.
adding the memorial,
You should. It's yours.
Second.
the word.
Very good. Mr. Franklin makes the motion. Dr. Sadler makes the second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. That's unanimous. Now we're down to our paving update. Ryan and Pam?
Tonight I bring to you Resolution 2022-016. This is dealing with the spring paving. Doris sent out an agenda earlier this week. Unfortunately, with what's going on in the environment right now, the bidder had to retract their bid, so we're going to have to go with a different bid.
Because of?
Because of fuel cost, rising fuel cost. In fact, it's gone up 29% in a year. liquid asphalt cost has gone up 29%. With that being said, the list of streets hasn't changed. I have added a street, Forestwood Drive. This total for this amount will be $455,918.77. I think Pam has some information in regards to the numbers.
Yeah, I think in front of you, Dora put a copy of the resolution approving the contract, and on the back of it is a budget amendment. If we pave all the streets that Ryan would like to pave according to the contract that we're asking you to approve tonight, we will be over budget in our paving line items, but that's not quite as bad as it sounds, and let me explain why. In the town, we pay for our annual fall and spring paving out of two departments. We pay for paving out of our out of our town funds. We also pay for paving out of our PAL bill funds, which comes from the state. That's state funding. Whenever we were preparing the budget last April, the amount of funding that we were going to get in PAL bill was very much up in the air. And so when we budgeted that at the recommendation of the League of Municipalities, we were very conservative in our budgeting of that revenue. Well, we had quite the windfall of money actually come in, and we actually collected $72,000 more in PAL bill revenue than we had budgeted. And so in order to do the paving that Ryan would like to do, we're asking tonight for a budget amendment in the amount of $93,769. Of that amount, we will have the $72,000 in extra revenue that we collected in PAL bill. So that will just leave $21,000 that we'll actually have to pull from fund balance appropriated, or pull from our PAL bill funding. Of which we have a PAL bill reserve right now of about $500,000. But are there any questions about that?
Yes, please. I'm not sure whether you or Pam, but my recollection is we did not do any paving this past fall.
That's correct.
Which is in this fiscal year. So we technically have not spent any money yet, period, in this fiscal year for our paving, which normally we would do two
Correct.
paving seasons, okay? So our overall budget for the year for paving, are we pretty much killing it in this one pot? Is that what I'm hearing? And, okay,
Yes, that's correct.
since we're running out of fiscal year.
Exactly.
All right, I just want to be clear on that.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Ms. Welch?
Yeah, I have a question, please, Ryan.
Yes, ma'am.
So these roads will be totally paved, there won't be those, I can't remember the terms of the different types of repair that you
There will not be patching. It'll be a complete seamless, every single one of them. Some of them are in bad enough condition where they have to have full depth patches, but those full depth patches will be a uniform paving over them, if that makes sense.
Well, are there any roads that you're planning to do other type of repair work so they don't come to the point of, total repair?
So we have, Pam, how much is left in repairs?
We have about $25,000 left
Okay.
for miscellaneous
Yeah.
repairs.
We're
that might
always
need
on
to
the
be done.
lookout for issues that if we can fix a hole to alleviate future damages that will be more costly.
Yeah, I think I want to be sure that that was part of, your plan for this year. I think they were called like alligator cracks. There were several different levels of road repair.
So most of these roads that we are paving have severe alligator cracks. So what we have to do is either mill them out, which is completely remove them, or they actually go in, instead of milling, they go in with a skid steer and actually take all the asphalt up to get down to the base.
Jane, I think you were talking about other roads that may be having alligator cracks starting to appear. Do we have,
So with alligator cracks, you can't, in the past, we've done, I can't even think of the name of it now.
JCL?
Yeah, or crack sealing.
crack sealing?
But you can't crack seal. Alligator cracks are so far gone that you really have to mill it out. So that's really the only way to do that. And this is the time of year. Crack sealing is more of a Band-Aid than it is a repair, if that makes sense.
Yes, but I remember in your presentation before, you said it was so important to do that type of work so that you didn't have to do such total down to the base
And we did that the last paving we did, we spent a lot of money on crack sealing to stretch out those roads. But this year, this particular season, it's just going in and fixing the ones that are the worst off.
Thank you.
Ron, I want to make one last comment.
Sure.
It just dawned on me that let's try to coordinate as best we can with this contractor and with our garbage pickup services. I remember down here at Tuscany last time,
Okay.
it was paved one day and the garbage was picked up the next day, and with turning around with the garbage truck and the cul-de-sac and that type of stuff. Or
Okay.
maybe be especially cognizant of cul-de-sacs and that big truck
That's
turning
good
around.
point. Okay.
I just happen to remember it was paved one day, garbage truck turned around in cul-de-sacs
Okay.
the next day.
Ryan,
Yes, ma'am.
what is the, do you know the total number of miles or that you're
I
gonna be
don't
doing?
have that number
That's okay.
available, but I can get it to you.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
in that
I'd be
study.
curious. Yeah, I can
In
pull
fact,
it.
Pam asked me for it earlier on, and I just haven't gotten that number, but because she's gonna need it for Powell bill.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Entertain a motion.
Pam, real quick,
Oh,
point of
sorry.
clarification, the 21,048 is general fund and not Powell bill?
Well, it's part of our restricted PAL bill money,
Okay,
which is
all right.
in the general fund.
Got it, understood,
Yes.
thank you.
Yeah.
Motion to approve.
So right now, you're voting to approve the budget amendment in the amount of $93,769, and that's to increase the budgeted line item for paving and resurfacing to be paid out of PAL bill.
We have a motion.
Motion to
Second.
approve.
And Ms. Foster makes the second, Mr. Smithman makes the motion. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, that's unanimous.
Thank you.
Now we have to award the contract.
Contract to Yadkin Valley Paving in the amount of $455,918.77.
Pretty good.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Mr. Franklin makes the motion, Ms. Hunt makes the second. Any additional discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Excuse me, thank you, that's unanimous. All righty, Ryan?
So this is resolution 2022-017. We spoke about this last week. We have some U-channel posts out behind the annex that we at some point purchased. I'm not sure why, but we really have no use for them, so we'll be selling them on a government gov deals.
Any questions for Ryan? Want to entertain a motion, please?
So move.
Second.
Mr. Franklin makes the motion, Ms. Hunt makes the second. Any additional discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, that's unanimous. Stacy, we have a public hearing to set a date for.
Good evening, council members. Before you is Resolution 2022-018 to set a public hearing to receive comments on UDO L165, which is an update to a revision to our downtown overlay standards and a portion of the LD1 and LD2 zoning district standards, which follow very closely to the downtown overlay. As you know, the planning board has been working very hard over the last year probably in order to diligently do their best and get it right this time for the downtown overlay and the changes in some of those regulations that we require, facade requirements, height requirements, mass and scale requirements, those types of things. So the resolution before you is to set a public hearing for the April 14th regular council meeting.
Any questions?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So as I look at my handy dandy calendar, on the 14th, we're having the consultant come back and present for the comp plan to the council for our potential adoption. And then we were going to have the boards and committees come in, and the consultant was going to speak to them about how, at least, kick off the discussion for their plan of work. Timing-wise, you think that's going to be?
Yeah, I think it'll be okay, honestly. The downtown overlay is fairly straightforward. I would like to get that to you in the next week. I mean, obviously, it's already been through the planning board, so that you can go ahead and start putting your eyes on it. Let me know if you have any questions or any, major concerns or anything like that, so that, obviously I will be giving a presentation at the briefing for your benefit and for the public's benefit, but, I just, we're proud of it, and I think we want to go ahead and push it through.
Well, I'm ready for it. I think we're all ready for it. I just want to make sure the time is sufficient. So I would love to see it on the 14th, so thank you.
Very good. So we,
I guess I can make a motion.
She needs a motion.
the public hearing then would be April 14th.
Do I need to make a okay?
The resolution is 18, but the date is April 14th.
So do I need to convert my enthusiasm into a motion,
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to make the motion for Resolution 20022-22018, setting public hearing for April 14th.
Second.
Very good. Mr. Foster makes the motion. I believe Ms. Hunt made the second. Any additional discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. That's unanimous.
Thank you, council.
All righty. Sam, our grant project ordinance for the American Rescue Plan.
At your place, everybody should have it's a 3-page document, and it's called Grant Project Ordinance for the American Rescue Plan Act. It's also in your agenda packet if you have your iPads. Does everybody have that? This document for your consideration tonight is the budget ordinance for how the town would like to use its ARPA money. So this is a budget for the ARPA money. I'm not going to read the entire document, but I would like to just hit on a few of the key points. It is called, at the very top, Grant Project Ordinance for the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Funds. I'll draw your attention to Section 1. It says this ordinance is to establish a budget for a project to be funded by the Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Funds of the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. The town of Louisville has received the first tranche in the amount of $2,012,235.75. The total allocation is $4,024,471.50, with the remainder to be distributed to the town within 12 months. These funds may be used for the following categories of expenditures to the extent authorized by state law. And 1 through 5 on this ordinance, these are the broad categories of expenditures that are allowed under the ARPA Act. And I want to draw your attention to number 3, because this is what this particular budget ordinance focuses on. Replace lost public sector revenue using this funding to provide government services to the extent of the reduction in revenue experienced due to the pandemic. And then on to Section 2, the town has elected to take the standard allowance as authorized under the Act for the provision of government services. So if you recall, last Thursday, we discussed how under the new final guidance, they're allowing each local government to take up to a $10 million standard allowance and use their ARPA money to provide general government services. And if you'll turn the page, you'll see a table. The following amounts are appropriate for the project and authorized for expenditure. And we talked last week about the benefits of using the ARPA money to reimburse the general fund for salaries and benefits of town staff. And the table at the very top of the page provides the budget for that. The first column, you see a project description. Every expenditure that you have under ARPA has to be, basically, it's called a project, and it has to have a description. And you'll see that we pay salaries and benefits out of 4 departments in the town: administration, finance, planning, and public works. And so the salaries and benefits that we're budgeting are broken out amongst those 4 departments. And so the salaries and benefits that we're proposing in this budget run from April 1st, 2021 through June 30th of 2022. And the total is $1,318,400. So basically what will happen is the fund that is holding our ARPA money right now will reimburse the general fund for the salaries and benefits, up to that amount. That's a conservative amount. I won't know the actual amount of the transfer until the end of June when we do the last payroll. But this does authorize up to that amount. Now, keep in mind, it's a budget ordinance, and it's a multi-year budget ordinance, which means it will carry over for several years up until the end of 2026, and it can be amended, and it will be amended from time to time as our planning changes. Now, you'll see the very last budget item there is called unassigned, and that's in the amount of $2,706,071.50. So that's money right now that's unassigned. It hasn't been allocated to any type of expenditure at this point. So that's open to allocation later on.
Question, please. Thank you, Pam. I'm still trying to understand this. I apologize because I know you went into great detail last week. So that $2 million, that's what's remaining from the $4 million that would be allocated, correct?
That's correct.
And the monies that we will be receiving that's listed under for salaries and benefits, that actually goes into the general fund, so it does not have to then be used necessarily for salaries and benefits. Is that correct?
Well, for federal reporting purposes, the ARPA money is used to reimburse the general fund for salaries and benefits. So what that does, that frees up other money in the general fund for other projects that you would like to do, and that money will be basically unrestricted and free of all the federal requirements that are out there. It gives you a little more leeway and a little more freedom with how to spend the money. You still have to spend your money within state law. But you do have a little more flexibility. But yes, your fund balance will grow by the 1.3 million by the end of the year.
But that money does have to go to benefits and salaries, but we won't have to use monies we would have used for salaries and benefits.
Exactly.
Okay. It doesn't mean automatic increase in that area.
No.
Yes.
No.
Okay. Thank you. I think I got it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. So, last week I was concerned. I appreciate everyone's explanation. You've done a great job, Pam, and I appreciate Dr. Sadler, Councilman Sadler. You also were able to delineate a couple of things. Is it possible to capture those key components in the ordinance? So, for example, what you just said, that this actually is smart. It frees up and gives us more latitude in a whereas. And then the second piece that impressed me is you said that you all have been on the phone and talking with the School of Government, and you'd gotten a lot of recommendations from that entity saying this is smart and recommended to most municipalities. Is that a reasonable addition?
Yeah, in fact, this wording was provided by the School of Government.
Okay.
Pretty much every municipality will be adopting this very same ordinance.
But again, just because it's such a public fund and we're going, I think the more we can make it make sense. If it's confusing up here, it might be confusing for others, and I just want to.
I would leave the.
You wouldn't?
Leave
Oh, because
everything
it's
like
from the
this.
School of Government?
It's because this is recommended language from the School of Government.
All right. Well, maybe the minutes could somehow reflect that instead. Is that reasonable?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay.
Pam, I have a question. Can you go back to the unassigned and give me just recap exactly? So that's unassigned, but it's going to be used for salaries and benefits. Is that?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
That would be a recommendation and a possibility. But right now, we're only budgeting through June 30th of 2022.
Okay.
Like I said, this is basically it's a document that can change with any amendment that council would like to make. So in the next fiscal year, we will need to consider what we would like to do with the money, and that's where that unassigned comes into play.
But it does go underneath number 3 on the front page. That's kind of the category that we have that we are selecting that the unassigned funds will go into. Is that accurate?
According to the School of Government and my recommendation, that is the smartest way to use the money. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Pam? If not, we'll entertain a motion.
I have a question, but not specifically related. Well, it is related, but it's not. It doesn't impact the question before us. How many full-time equivalent employees are in the town right now?
5, 6, 7, 8.
How many FTEs are on the town staff?
We've got 11 and a half.
11 and a half.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, we'll accept a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Smithman makes the motion, Ms. Foster makes the second. Any additional discussion?
He was ready.
If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Pam. Our bank account just grew.
Okay, one more thing.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now that you've approved that, we also have ordinance 2022-015. This is allowing for the transfer of the $1,318,400 from the special revenue fund that's holding the cash right now to the general fund. So that's actually a budget amendment.
Hands on the money. Okay.
Okay, motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Franklin makes the motion, Ms. Welch makes the second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Hank, admin reports, please.
Okay, like I've reported in the last, I guess, couple of months now, I'll report that their Part F grant meetings are scheduled. They continue. We are running into our final two. Next week, we will have our last Zoom Part F meeting at 6:30 on March 14th. And then following that, later in the week on Thursday, March 17th, we'll be doing sort of an open 2-hour stop-in kind of thing at Mary Alice Warren Community Center. That's between 6:30 and 8:30. That will be held in 2 rooms combined, the Louisville room and the Vienna room. Moving forward, just for dates for everyone to be aware of, we are moving forward with the bid opening for the Gateway project, and that's going to be on March 24th. Then, assuming we get a bid on March 24th, we're going to be moving forward with DOT concurrence on April 14th or by that date. And then in April, we'll also have approval of the contract from the town council for the project as well. And then the last thing I wanted to add in here, I got contacted by Susan Linker of the LBC, and she's the chairperson for that group. We've discussed a project that they've got going on, and this is a nice, cute project. I just want to announce it for everybody in the room and for those watching us on Channel 6. We'll be working with the Louisville Elementary School, and we'll be carrying on a conversation with their art classes over there. And what we're doing is sort of a naming contest, if you will, for having the kids go through a process where we might be able to get them to give us ideas to name the dinosaurs that are being placed over at Mary Alice Warren Community Center. So we'll see how that goes, or we're probably going to have a lot of interesting submittals. But I just do that for everyone's information. And that concludes my report for this evening.
Are we providing the kids pictures of the dinosaurs so they know what they're naming?
You know, that would be a good idea.
Yeah.
It definitely would.
And identify whether they're male or female? He, she?
Not getting into that.
She, her, or he, him?
I did skip over events at Shallowford Square and Town Holidays. Coming up in April on the 15th, town offices will be closed in observance of Good Friday. And then a little further into May, I'm just doing that because I'm excited about it. On May 6th, on Friday, we're going to be doing our first movie night in Shallowford Square. We're going to do Raiders of the Lost Ark that evening. Ooh. And then moving a little further, May 30th, on Monday, we're going to have the Memorial Day concert with the Embers in Shallowford Square. Ooh. So I'll conclude my report at that point.
Spring is spring.
Hey, Kat.
That's for Hank.
I do have a question. When they attend this 14th on the Part F grant meeting, the 14th and the 17th, is the material the same thing?
No, thank you for bringing that forward. Next week, and we've already started doing this, the very first meetings, I think we've probably had 4 meetings to date so far. The initial meetings were kind of, tell us what you think, and reaffirmation of our 2020 plan. Where we have moved in now to this place is kind of giving people what we've heard and reporting back, sort of like I did last week for council briefing. And we'll kind of be sort of gelling that all together. our culmination on the 17th, we're going to hold, if everything goes well, we'll go through a physical kind of exercise or so in the Mary Alice Warren Community Center, you know, the voting dots and kind of a ranking, prioritizing for it. And so with that being said, we're kind of moving from give us information to this is what we've heard and this is where we're going. How does everybody feel about it? Okay.
Thank you.
Sure.
We have learned in a conversation this week that the county is planning on doing a significant renovation at Joni Moser Park, and they'll be installing a lot more pickleball courts. So we can, we'll get some specifics on that in the next week or two before we have to submit the Part F grant. So we'll know whether we need to have that as part of ours or whether we can fall back on Joni Moser for pickles.
And conversations with county could include, they're interested in a dog park.
That's right.
So you can include them giving us Joni Moser.
There you go.
Yeah,
Go for
they're
it.
willing to give it to us tomorrow if we
They
want
are.
it.
Let's do it.
They're definitely.
Hank, anything else?
No, sir. I'm
Okay.
finished.
Very good. Just one other little footnote, I guess, since we're talking about fundings for things. Hank is working with the
Age-friendly for Science?
Age-Friendly for Scythe Group, who will be submitting an application for a grant to AARP for benches. And so we're, Susan coming to you all on Monday is a picture of the square in Jack Warren Park and the community center, and we'll need your help in identifying the appropriate places for those benches to go. So we've asked for 12. We'll see what you guys come up with. And we appropriately said that we would put tags on those benches that said they were provided by Age Friendly for Scythe and the AARP.
Very nice.
Alrighty. Stacy?
I was going to say, Susan has heard Hank and I's Part F presentation so many times she could probably recite it at this point.
We gave it again like this week.
I think we've given it a total of
the Rotary
like 6 or
Club,
7
and
times.
I just felt like I could do this in my sleep at this
Yeah.
point. So
Okay. We just wanted to update you guys and give you another reminder that next week on March the 16th, that is a Wednesday evening, there's going to be an opportunity on Zoom for those who would like to participate. U6154 is a locally administered project that the town is doing to convert the signalized intersection at Louisville, Vienna and Robin Hood Road to a single-lane roundabout. We've been going through the design. We're at 30% design right now with our consultants, Kimley Horn, and it is at the point that we present that to the public. So at 6 p.m., again on Zoom, the public officials, that would be you guys and any board and committee members that wanted to attend, would be able to attend at 6 p.m. to have a first look at that. And then at 7 p.m., we invite the public to tune in on Zoom to actually see the, do what? Oh, sorry. To see the plan and give us their feedback as well on those 30% plans. So, but if you can't make it at 6 o'clock as a council or board and committee member, then you're more than welcome to come at 7 if you have a conflict.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's good.
Stacy, you say come, but it's Zoom meeting.
Zoom, yes, you can come to your computer on Zoom.
Dora, a couple of items for us.
Sir. Just a reminder that your required ethics training, there will be a Zoom webinar on May 26th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. If you can participate in that live training session, I need to know so I can register you. If you're unable to do that, there will be an on-demand offered in June that you can take between June and the 1st of November. So I just need you to let me know, if you have not already, which you would prefer to do. The second item is an attachment in your agenda. It is the proposed budget calendar for 2022. The dates are similar to the dates utilized in 2021. And I'm not exactly sure if Pam or Hank have anything that they would like to add to this.
really what you need to do is look through those. We have, as we have customarily done in years past, taken the dates that you see before you in that calendar and place them correspondingly to traditional dates over the years. So we've used, for instance, the Mondays in the month that we normally do to keep everything consistent. So if you review that and have any issues with that, we will end up needing to approve the calendar for the budget process. We normally end up having about 2 good, solid budgetary meetings, and then are able to use the following meetings for cleanup. But, so don't look at all of those meetings as meaning that we're going to necessarily need them, but we do have them available just in case.
It's primarily Mondays and Thursdays.
Yes, sir.
Great.
Can I just tie something? So one of the asks, you guys will hear a little bit more about this, will be possibly council coming together to just have a little mini discussion retreat about some of the governing issues for the boards and committees. So I had in mind some of those budget sessions that we wouldn't necessarily need to possibly be an opportunity for us to have some of those discussions. So is that something we can at least peek at?
Is that?
Who's responsible for that extra?
Who is responsible?
So let me just make sure. So you're asking that we peek at the calendar to potentially replace some of the budget meetings that we don't need to talk about boards and committees?
That was beautiful.
Okay.
Congresswoman Hunt.
I'm probably going to turn very red now. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, there's one last thing for it, that we normally would do this, and we're anticipating, because we've got the May 2nd deadline for the Part F application process, we are going to be going through, sort of after we finish with the March 17th deal, kind of pulling it all together and getting it all ready. So we're anticipating, just be aware of it, we may end up having some Part F materials added in there as a part of the budget process, so we can get some of the approvals necessary to finalize the Part F application in time for the May 2nd deadline.
Yep,
Okay.
that's all I need. Yep.
Can we do those on briefing days? Is that a possibility?
Well,
I'm
yeah,
thinking- since folks
whenever
will-
we have those forms ready for it, but we're just anticipating, since we have these times in here, and we do have some opportunities before the May 2nd.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Mayor, I've got one more item.
Yes,
We
ma'am.
just received the information for the North Carolina League of Municipalities Annual City Vision Conference. It will be, the sessions will be held on April 27th and 28th in Wilmington. And I need you to let me know if you are interested in attending City Vision by next Wednesday, March 16th, so we can get you registered, we can get your hotel accommodations, because it will mean traveling on the 26th, because the sessions start the morning of the 27th, and it will require traveling coming back on the 29th. So we just need to determine what elected officials want to attend, if you're interested in it, because there is a potential need for a budget amendment potentially, and which we could bring back to you in April if that were to be the case. But also with the City Vision, we need to go ahead and name the voting delegate. That has to be turned into the League of Municipalities in the next couple of weeks. So tonight, we do need to go ahead and name a voting delegate for the League conference.
So I guess the first question would be, who might be planning to attend?
I know that Manager Perkins and myself plan on attending it, but I do not know from the elected board who has an interest.
So can we name a primary delegate and an alternate?
Yes, sir, you may.
Great, okay. My intention is to try to attend,
Yes, sir.
but if something should come up, then we would want to have somebody designated as the alternate.
Mr. Mayor, what we've done pretty much every year is you've been the primary delegate, and I've been the alternate.
Okay.
But I would be perfectly happy giving up that alternate if one of another member of council wants to take that.
Take a look at your calendars, and if it works in your schedule to be able to go down on those days, that would be great. And it's a pretty good experience. Do they have the agenda out yet?
Yes, sir, I'll be happy to email that to you.
That'd be great. So that'll let you know kind of what's happening on the 2 days, and we try to get together the evening of going down there before the stuff starts, kind of those of us who are down there to kind of get together and and have a bite to eat.
So I guess, Dora, what we're going to do right now for the material we need to turn in, the mayor's going to be primary, I'm alternate?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. And that's, council, is that okay? I mean, I think
Yes.
normally you guys would go through at least a consensus on it.
Yes,
Okay.
We're good?
absolutely.
All right.
Okay, Hank, approvals at briefing, please.
All right. What was that, sir?
Approvals at briefing.
Oh, yeah. Okay, good Lord, we had a list here. All right, we had ordinance 2022-013, amending budget ordinance 2021-001 in an amount of $428 for the Mary Alice Warren Community Center landscape beautification. We had resolution approved 2022-015, Ecologic Landscape Beautification Contract Change Order Number 1. And then we had approval of ordinance 2022-009, amending budget ordinance 2021-001 in an amount of $25,000 for legal fees. We had approval of ordinance 2022-010, amending budget ordinance 2021-001 for the fee schedule for the town. And then we had approval of the ordinance 2022-011, amending budget ordinance 2021-001 in an amount of $15,000 for right-of-way maintenance. Approval of 2022-012, amending budget ordinance 2021-001 in an amount of $3,000 for street sign supplies. And lastly, we approved the revised 2022 meeting schedule for the town of Louisville.
Very good. Ladies and gentlemen, the items that the manager just outlined are actions that we took at our briefing this last Thursday. We meet the first Thursday, of course, for our briefing, and occasionally we do have to take action. We report them out at this meeting, so there's a record from this meeting of the actions we took on your, excuse me, on your behalf. Council members, we're down to, actually, let me go with public comments first. For those hardy souls who have still managed to stick with us, this is a second opportunity for you to share your thoughts with the council. Anybody wish to speak at this time? I'm not seeing any movement toward the podium, so I'm assuming that's a non-starter. Well, thank you very much for being here. Council members.
Oh, I had a comment, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, it's been mentioned about the problems abroad and how we certainly support the Ukrainians. I wanted to say that Airbnb will benefit those who wish to have a refugee, even if it's just for a weekend. You can contact them if you're interested in hosting a family or a couple, and they will really work with you. And that site is airbnb.org/refugees. So if that seems to touch your heart and you would like to be involved, that's our contact.
Do we know if there's any relocation plans to North Carolina?
So far, there hasn't been, but I don't know the name of the group, but, we certainly have refugees from other countries coming in from time to time, so it is organized well. But this is separate, Airbnb.
Council members?
Mayor, I just, when we are going through these agendas and we've got the attachments, is there any way for the public to view it up on the screen that's here, or can we have copies of these attachments for the public, specifically when we're going through very detailed information regarding financial stuff? I think it would be helpful to have the attachment behind us or somewhere where they can view the information and hear it as well.
We placed the full agenda on the website ahead of the meeting. What we could end up doing here, and we do have free guest Wi-Fi, so somebody who had the ability to do this, they could bring an iPad or their phone or a laptop and be able to access the town's Wi-Fi and then go and find the full attachment and follow along with it in the meeting as well. That would be a...
So are we able to do that as a service for them with a laptop?
I mean,
up
I
there?
think that's, well, if they were to bring their own material or their laptop or tablet here, they could certainly follow along with it themselves. That would be one way to do it. It's up to council on whether or not they'd want to end up having the full packet on the screen behind them as we go
I
through.
know we've
No.
tried Melissa, are you thinking about putting it up on the screen while
Well,
we talk about it?
just like, I think for me, it was this ordinance where we're talking about the American Rescue Plan, and that information, I know, we talked a lot of detail about numbers and things of that nature. If they would have some kind of visual from the audience that they could either reference or take a look at, I think that would be helpful.
Another option that we could discuss too is that if we had anything that anybody envisioned would be helpful for that type of thing, we do have the ability to call up different agenda items where we felt like it was a good thing for the public to be able to see, where we're not necessarily doing the entire agenda up there, but earmark specific agenda items that would be good for display for the public during the meetings.
What's the hesitation of clicking the
Every-
button and having the attachment up there?
For everything.
That was what I said, if council wants to do it, but I'm just suggesting some alternatives other than just to have the entire agenda strolling behind you.
Sure, okay. Just maybe that's something we can discuss at briefing next month, is just a better modality.
How we can be effective doing that, because I think what we put up here doesn't translate well
That's
with
right.
our camera to TV6.
Okay.
But that still could benefit
It
the
may
folks
help
here.
audience members, though, that may be able to see the information instead of just
Well,
hearing
I
us
think
ramble.
that was where I was going to, with the fact that the information is on the town's website under the agendas for
Sure.
it. So somebody at the house even could go to the website, they'll see everything that you see
Sure.
for it.
Yep.
Would you make that part of my spiel in the beginning of every meeting? That I can refer anybody watching at home to go to our website and they can follow along with our agenda items? That might be a little better reproduction of what we're talking about.
And, yep,
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, Ms. Foster?
thank you. Dora, Hank, what is the plan for communicating to the members who were reappointed and not reappointed?
Oh, gosh, we'll have to get and figure that out. It's the same thing we've done. I think it's either the mayor has a letter sent out via the clerk's office in that way for the information.
So that you'll do it consistent with
Yes, we'll do
previous-
whatever is consistent with what we've done in the past.
Council members?
I was going to comment, normally I wouldn't about the newsletter, but I was reading your message in the newsletter this time, and I thought that it was spot on, for the times we're living in, for anybody who hadn't really read it in any detail. And I just wanted to acknowledge that and congratulate you on the message that you have in the newsletter this time.
Well, thank you. I'm glad at least one person is reading it. Thank you, Dr. Sadler. I appreciate that. Council members, anything else? If not, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Smitherman makes the motion expeditiously.
Second.
Ms. Hunt makes the second. Any further discussion?
Aye.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That is unanimous. Ladies and gentlemen at home, thank you for watching. Ladies and gentlemen who are with us here in the council chambers, thank you for your patience and sticking with us. It's always good to see folks here in person. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're adjourned.